Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Seeing more and more people joining in, streaming in. Glad to see that. So if everyone is doing well. So sorry for starting a few minutes late. We did end up needing to just have a look at a few things in terms of the fundamentals, but not necessarily much. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. So I guess we should be able to start now since we're a good number. So hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kaniaga and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, I do know during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have John. He is here in the back office, so he'll be here to assist you on whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box. But remember, the Q&A section is much, much better since I will be addressing all those questions at the end of the webinar. So we can jump straight into it. So as usual, we first start off with sharing my screen. So on Friday, we'll start off here with the watch list. So looking at the watch list for Friday, we were looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc, the US dollar, as well as the Japanese yen. And we were looking to mix and match these three pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So that was the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, the British pound, as well as the euro. However, today, there's only one slight difference with our watch list. The Swiss franc has moved to the buy side. So our focus today is going to be mainly on the US dollar pairs as well as the Japanese yen pairs, looking for selling opportunities on those. And we're going to mix and match them with all the pairs on the buy side. That's the New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, British pound, the euro, as well as the Swiss franc. Now, in terms of fundamentals, today might not necessarily be a very active day. Can see it was a holiday in Japan, so not necessarily much happened during the Asian session. Now, similar situation during the London session today. There's no much any activity, actually no news coming out, as well as during the US session. You can clearly see we only have some Canadian dollar news and a bit of US dollar news that's going to be coming out later on at 6 and at 9 o'clock. So not necessarily going to be much volatility, not like last week, Monday. But let's hope to see if we could end up still finding some nice trading opportunities today. But that just means our watch list will pretty much remain the same for now. So let's jump straight into it. So we'll end up looking at the pairs that we did have on Friday. Most of the Swiss franc pairs that we did have on Friday that we're not going to be looking at today before we do jump on today's pairs. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. Remember, on this kind of pair on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Remember, during the London session, the price was all the way up within this particular area when the London market was opening. Did mention that we're hoping to see some sort of pullback coming in towards this support and resistance area. You can clearly see on Friday, the pullbacks did end up coming in during the London session. During the US session, the price was approaching this particular buyer's area. It did not have enough strength to actually take off to the upside. Because remember, even on Friday, there was not necessarily much fundamentals coming out during the US session. So it was a pretty slow day where we did manage to get the pullback. And it seems like today, well, that's when the market is attempting to go to the upside. Unfortunately for us, these are pairs that could potentially give us issues, even the way the buyers are coming up. They do end up seeming quite slow. So unfortunately, these are pairs that's going to be off our watch list for today. So if you are in on any buys, do make sure you are managing your trade just in case the prices do end up down. Remember, when the pairs are both on the same side, there's a high likelihood that the prices could end up just ranging between those two levels. So wait to see what ends up happening, but ideally, there's a pair that's off our watch list today. Now, the next pair we did have was the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. You can see that similar correlation. During the London session, price was within an area where the sellers, remember, looking at the illustration that we had pointed out, we're hoping to see either a breach to the upside, and if the price was holding above, we could have actually been able to look for buying opportunities then. But you can clearly see at 10 o'clock, price was within the seller's area. We did end up getting the pullback coming in during the London session. So the price did end up coming back down all the way to this buyer's area. But you can see from 3 o'clock, once the US market did come in, no activity whatsoever. You can see the price was just bouncing between these two levels, or at least a small range that did end up making. So that just shows that the big boys were not actually interested in buying or selling this kind of pair. But you can clearly see today, during the Asian session, the price has attempted to start going to the upside. This is mainly because of the Australian dollar pairs. Remember, we always need a big boy to actually move the market. But unfortunately for us, since this pair is working out nicely, but I would encourage you to maybe, if you're in this trade, maybe manage the trade. You don't know whether or not these sellers are going to come down aggressive, especially if you look at the way the buyers have been coming up. So that's why there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Now, moving on to the next Swiss franc pair that we did have. We did have the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc on this currency pair. Similar situation, we were looking for buying opportunities. Can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Ideally, we wanted the price either to breach this area to the upside or potentially give us a pullback towards this particular buyer's area. Unfortunately, you can see 10 o'clock during the London session, the price started giving us the pullback. We're hoping to see the price coming back all the way to this main buyer's area. There's also a major support and resistance area, but it did not necessarily get all the way to that location. Can clearly see the fact that we always point out, if you see the price within a buyer's or seller's area within the market opening time, you have a high likelihood of the market reacting from that location. So you can clearly see, even though the price didn't get here, it did end up bouncing within this particular buyer's area. You do note the time. At 3 o'clock, the price was within this area. We did end up looking for a small trading opportunity. There was one available if you were quite keen on looking to see whether you could get an opportunity here. Even at 4:30, we did get a small pullback, and we can see the market has attempted to go to the upside. But unfortunately for us today, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. So moving on to the next pair for review, we did have the British pound against Swiss franc. This pair did work out quite well, but this is mainly because of the British pound pairs, which we'll end up having a look at also the other kinds of pairs that we did have. But you can clearly see the same story that did end up happening. We're looking for buying opportunities. Price was within a seller's area during the London market open. And you can see the fact that we wanted to see whether or not the price could break this area to the upside and hold above. But you can clearly see the price just ended up giving us a probe at 10 o'clock, coming back inside, gave us confirmation that the price was holding below, and it did end up giving us that pullback coming in during the London session. However, at 3 o'clock during the US session, you can clearly see the price was within this particular buyer's area. We wanted to see signs of big boy buyers, and if you do realize there were some big buyers, so if I quickly annotate, you can be able to see that these buyers right here, they did end up coming up quite aggressively to the upside. That did end up giving us a sign that the buyers were, or at least going, or at least interested within that particular area. And if you notice at 4:30, that's when the market actually took off to the upside. You can clearly see the price managed to go all the way up. Still seems to be going up higher. This is mainly because of the British pound there. But even the way it does seem to be struggling, you don't know when that Swiss franc strength is actually going to come in. It could potentially bring this price down lower. So even though this trade worked out quite nicely, unfortunately for us, there's a pair that is off our watch list for today. Now, moving on to the next pair for review, we did have the euro against Swiss franc. You can see the similar correlation that we did end up pointing out. Ideally looking for buying opportunities. Price was within an area where they're sellers, so no buying opportunity for us. You can see the price attempted to break this area to the upside, could not hold to the upside right there. Just ended up giving us a probe, coming all the way down during the London session. But it's a similar situation with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. We're hoping to see the price getting all the way to this buyer's area. Unfortunately, it could not, but if you realize, even right here, there was a small buyer's area as well, and the price was within this particular location at 3 o'clock, and it was at 4:30, the price actually started going to the upside. So it's similar correlation that did end up coming in. So if you did miss your buy there, always watch out for what area are you in, as well as the market opening times, because that's when you could end up getting some nice trading opportunities. But unfortunately for us, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So I hope that's clear for all the pairs that we did have for review. So this being Monday, we don't necessarily have screenshots, and also this based on the way the markets move. There were some nice opportunities, but not necessarily that many. But remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them into us. There should be a link or contact details right there in the chat box that you could be able to send them into us via WhatsApp. And we'd like to at least celebrate your wins with you. It doesn't matter whether or not the trades win or lose, but show what you're actually doing. We could end up helping you or noting certain things that could end up improving on your trading. So feel free to send that to us. Our contact details should be there in the chat box. If you're watching us on YouTube or on our social media platforms, there should be a link right there in the chat box, or at least in the description, that should be able to give you all our resources, including our contact details. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So we'll start off with the US dollar pairs, mix and match them with all the pairs on the buy side. Then we'll move on to do the same thing with the Japanese yen pairs before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So on this kind of pair, on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out. The higher area was slightly higher, but we have adjusted it today. Overall, we were then to look for buying opportunities. And remember, we wanted to see whether or not the pullback was going to come in within the support and resistance area. So the pullback did end up coming in during the London session at 3 o'clock, and at 4:30, we're hoping to see the price actually breaking this area to the upside and holding above. Because you can see, once it came to the downside, It pulled back, it never went to the upside, it came back down. That showed confirmation that it was probably holding below. Now, when it attempted to go up again, you can see it did the exact same thing. It came straight back in and held below. So no buying opportunity for us at that point in time. You can see the price did manage to continue coming down all the way to our main buyers area down here at the bottom. You can see today, the market has ended up reacting quite aggressive. And this is ideally what we want to see. When we keep on mentioning, we want to see a sign of big boy buyers. These are the big boy buyers that you can clearly see there. But that doesn't just mean you just jump in on your buys, because you need to also be aware, where are you buying? We always keep on pointing out, buy with buyers and sell with sellers. So this is clearly an area where sellers have reacted from before. So this is not a good place to look for your buying opportunities. So wait to see what ends up happening. So we do have these three areas. Right now, what we could end up possibly waiting to do, I think what I'll wait to do is either see the breach to the upside coming in, because it does seem there seems to be some sort of small problem area here. If I do see the price coming back in slowly and holding above, then I should be able to look for a buying opportunity there to take it to the upside. But right now, since we're within a seller's area, I wouldn't be surprised if this market actually ends up starting to come down, pulling back all the way till this particular support and resistance area. But if it doesn't necessarily get there, you can see we have some other levels right here as well that we could end up finding the market reacting within those locations. Remember, we keep on pointing out, if you're finding the price within one of the support and resistance areas, or an area where buyers have reacted or sellers have reacted, you could easily find the market taking off to the upside. Because you can see this is an area where the price has reacted from before in terms of buyers. It's an area of resistance. So the fact that the price was broken this area to the upside, you could easily see the price pulling back to this area and going to the upside. So you might not necessarily get all the way there, but if you do see it within those locations, within one of the market opening times, you could find some nice trading opportunities here on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So I hope that's clear on NZD-USD, the game plan that we'll be looking for there. So we move on to the next US dollar pair, which is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Similar correlation, but this pair did not necessarily give us the pullback all the way to the main buyer's area like the New Zealand dollar pairs did. However, you can clearly see during the London session on Friday, price was within the seller's area, so no buying opportunity there. And you can see the pullback that we're expecting to come in did end up coming in, but we're hoping to see the price giving us a nice probe here, which you can see it did. And it did seem as if it was holding the upside, but it seems that the London big boys were not, the US big boys did not have enough strength to actually take the price up higher. However, we can see some big boys have showed themselves today. So pretty much we'll be focusing on the same areas. This one also looks nice for a buying opportunity. So we wait to see and respect these three areas. So right now, if you realize where we are, we're within a small seller's area. You can see these sellers are the ones who push this price down lower. It's also an SNR area that you can clearly see seems to be a major level. So what we could end up waiting for, at least what in terms of a game plan, the price is coming down slowly, which is what we want to see. So we'll not be surprised if we're waiting for the price here. We do see the buyers reacting, could potentially look for a buying opportunity there. If you do miss that trading opportunity, do make sure you manage your trade within the seller's area. You never know if they could end up reacting again. But once it gives you a problem area, that also gives you an indication that if the price is able to break and hold above that location, you could end up potentially jumping in with another buy. So I think that's what I'll be waiting for, but definitely looking to make sure to manage your trades within this problem area. But if the price comes down and doesn't hold within this area, remember, it's still for a buy as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area. So I hope that's clear on what the game plan is. This one does look pretty good, especially if it comes down within this area. You have a location of where you can be able to put your stop loss. Ideally, even just targeting all the way till here, it does give you almost a 1:3 risk to reward. So very interested to see what ends up happening. What you can do is potentially even just set an alert within such a location. Necessarily don't need to be sitting in front of your computer waiting the whole time. If you do hear your alert ringing, then you can be able to see and identify how the market ends up reacting for potential buy. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So moving on to the next currency pair we do have, which is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, on Friday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. And remember, we also point out the structure is very important. And we did note that this market did seem to be ranging within these levels. So during the London session, the price was within this buyer's area. So no selling opportunities within a buyer's location. And the fact that we're within a range, you can see the price did end up giving us a pullback. Unfortunately, could not get all the way to the main seller's area right there. You can see the price did just spike right there. So that would have been a bit difficult to get unless you had just put a pending order right there. So the price managed to spike, and this was just after the London US market opened around 5:30, and you can see the price did manage to come down lower. Unfortunately, it wasn't as smooth as we had wanted to see. However, the bias here is still the same. We're still going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see we've adjusted the sellers, the main sellers area slightly. So we'll still be looking for sells as long as we're holding below this seller area right here. Even though I've adjusted this area slightly, because the fact is, it does seem to be attempting to channel through the downside, but you can see the fact that we're not really making any new lows. This could be a potential channel turning into a range. So we'll still be looking for and expecting these three areas. And if we're looking for selling opportunities, remember the best place to look for yourself in a range is always at the top of the range. So we'll still be waiting for the similar situation. We're able to grab that selling opportunity right there. That would be good. But remember, if the price is able to break this area to the downside, because if you don't necessarily see the buyers having enough strength, the price is able to break this area to the downside and it falls below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities there as well. So we'll be very interested to see what ends up happening. But this one, the game plan is pretty straightforward. Sell at the top of the range or wait for a breach of the range, look for a sell at the bottom. So moving on to the next US dollar pair, we do have the British pound against the US dollar. Remember, I did point out that the British pound pairs really did work out quite well. So yes, on Friday, we're looking for buying opportunities. We did have these three areas. The top area, or at least the areas, we've adjusted them slightly, but the highlighted areas is where we did have our levels. So remember, on Friday, we wanted to see whether or not the price could break and hold above. So it did look as if it was attempting to hold to the upside, but could not necessarily go up as much higher. Remember, we also pointed out those conservative entries. If you do end up seeing, or at least getting to a particular high, so a similar situation, the fact that we got to this particular high, if you did wait for a pullback there and look for a buying opportunity, this area we did end up pointing out should be an area to manage. And you can clearly see it did struggle to make a new high within that level before the price ended up starting to come down lower. Now, the fact that the price came down lower, it was a good sign. You can clearly see within this particular buyer's area, we did get a nice aggressive buyer coming in. This was around 3 o'clock. And at 4:30, it did even give us a nice probe. And at 4:30, it did end up managing to take off to the upside. So this trade worked out quite well. Today, the buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So right now, we've just adjusted the top area. So we're still within this area where the sellers. So as usual, we do not want to jump in on any buying opportunities once we're within an area where there are sellers. So we need one or two things. Either the sellers to come down lower, potentially even giving us a pullback all the way to this particular area for us to look for a buying opportunity, or alternatively, if we do end up getting this price breaking this area to the upside, and we do see the price pulling back and holding above within that location, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities there. But similar situation, make sure to manage your trade within that particular high. So if you do manage to get a trading opportunity there, wherever the market started giving you that pullback, the same thing that happened on Friday, just make sure you do some trade management, because there's also the potential the price could continue going up higher. But do watch out for that on the British pound against the US dollar. So moving on to the next US dollar pair we do have, which is the euro against the US dollar. Now on this kind of pair, our bias on Friday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out, but also noted that there was some small problem area here where some buyers were reacting. And you can clearly see where the price was during the London session, at least on Friday where we were having this session. Price looked as if it was attempting to break this area to the upside. Remember, we did point out, let's see if it held above, there could be a nice buying opportunity. If it comes below and holds below, then chances are we could be coming back down all the way to this main buyer's area. Because I remember we did point out, I think on the 1 hour time frame, this seems to be a major range bouncing between these two levels. So after this probe, obviously the best place to look for your buying opportunity is at the bottom of the range. But we did also point out in terms of problem areas, we did have this buyer's area who was running. And the fact is the price ended up attempting to come down lower. These buyers did end up giving us some issues, and you can clearly see the price was within that particular location at 3 o'clock. So those attempted buys ended up attempting to come to the upside, but similar situation could not break this area to the upside right here. We do seem to be in some sort of small range bouncing between those two levels. So overall, here our bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. Obviously, the best place to look for the buys is still down here at the bottom. So the fact that these buyers are attempting to go up and they're not able to break this area to the upside, we might still find the price attempting to come down lower within this particular location. However, then it is a good sign that the fact that it is ranging, because if we are able to get this price breaking this area to the upside, and on the pullback, we do get the price actually holding above, then we should end up being able to find a nice buying opportunity there. There's a bit more risk to this based on the fact that overall you'll be buying in the middle of the range. So I think on this one, I would personally be hoping, or at least waiting for the price to come down a bit lower, down towards the bottom of the range before being able to look for that buying opportunity. So I hope that's clear on what ideally the game plan is on the euro against the US dollar. So moving on to the last US dollar pair, we do have the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, in this kind of pair, these are brand new entries on our watch list. And our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. We're expecting some weakness, some strength to come in on the Swiss franc pairs. But ideally, it is because you can clearly see even on the much larger time frame. If we do go to the higher time frame right here, based on the 4 hour, can see how much strength this market has been coming down. And this seems to be a pullback. Now, the question is when that pullback is actually going to come in. This has not necessarily been confirmed, but this level has been broken. Don't be surprised that the market actually comes in, at least shoots through the downside and falls below. So overall, here we'll be looking for selling opportunities, but right now it does seem to be attempting to fall off the watch list. But remember, we need to get confirmation that the price is actually holding above. So if you do see the price giving us a pullback, so what we're expecting is if the price gives us a pullback and it falls above, then actually ends up starting to go to the upside, this pair will fall off our watches. However, since this hasn't fully confirmed that this level has been reached, what we won't be surprised to see, or at least what we'll be waiting for, is if the sellers can end up coming in and you see aggressive sellers, because right now, all the people are jumping in on buys and the late buys. So if we do end up seeing sellers coming in, price holding below, then we should end up being able to find a nice selling opportunity. But for now, you need to be patient, possibly end up setting an alert within this particular location right here. The price is able to come back in and hold below, then we'll be interested in this. But for now, I think just be a bit cautious on this pair, and let's hope to see if we can end up getting that pullback coming in. So I hope that's clear on all the US dollar pairs. As you can clearly see, we've mixed and matched the US dollar pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to do the same thing with the Japanese yen pairs. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias on Friday was to look for buying opportunities. Now, the levels we did have were quite wide, just based on the fact that the yens have really been moving quite a bit. So we have adjusted them and moved the levels quite smaller to at least account for what we will be looking at for the day. But can clearly see on Friday, our bias was to buy. The market did not necessarily give us that buying opportunity. During the London session, we're within an area where the sellers, we did end up getting this pullback coming in. The fact that the price came back within this particular support resistance area closed it around the US session, so around 3 and 4:30, the price was still holding there, but did not actually take off. It only took off during the Asian session. And it's no surprise here we're dealing with the New Zealand dollar as well as the Japanese yen, which are more active during the Asian session. So you can see the market is working out quite well. So if you did manage to grab that trade on Friday, then at least you can be able to still hold onto your trade. But for now, if you are not yet in, we not encourage you to start jumping in on buying opportunities, because remember, you're so close towards the seller's area. And that's not what we do here. So for us, we'll be waiting to see one or two things. Either we'll wait to see a breach to the upside and a hold above for us to continue looking for buying opportunities. But just based on the way the price has been going up, not be surprised if we actually end up getting a pullback coming in, potentially within this support and resistance area, before we're able to look for buying opportunities within this location. So we'll be interested to see what ends up happening here. But for now, we need to be a bit patient. Right now, we're within an area where the sellers, we don't know what those sellers are going to do. So we need either a breach to the upside or waiting for that pullback to come in. So pretty straightforward, nothing much to do here. We just need to be a bit patient and wait for price within the areas of interest that we'll be looking for those trading opportunities. So moving on to the next yen pair, we did have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Can see the same correlation coming in, similar situation with the New Zealand dollar against the yen. We're looking for buying opportunities on Friday. Not necessarily much of the buys did come in. You can clearly see this was just a probe and this level held, where we did end up getting this pullback coming in back within this support and resistance area. And at 3 o'clock, so if we zoom in a bit, 3 o'clock, price was within this buyer's area, but the US big boys not necessarily interested in doing anything until the Asian big boys came in. As you can see, the Asian session did open within this area here, and the price has managed to continue going up. So if you didn't manage to grab your trading opportunity there, right now is when you should be approaching your take profit area. And that's the reason why for us, we don't necessarily want to start jumping in on buys just yet. Similar correlation coming in with the New Zealand dollar against the yen. The fact that we're so close in the seller's area we need one of two things: either a breach to the upside and a hold above for us to continue looking for buying opportunities, or we can end up getting a pullback coming in to see the price holding above within this particular area before we're able to look for buying opportunities there. But remember, as long as we're holding above the red SNR, our bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. But for right now, don't feel FOMO that you're seeing green candles and the price is going. This is where a lot of new traders end up getting stopped out, where they start jumping in on buys, putting their stop losses here. The price actually ends up coming down lower before you do end up seeing the price taking off later on. So do be patient and wait to see what ends up happening on the Australian dollar against the yen. So moving on to the next yen pair we do have, which is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar correlation. Now, on this pair, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Let me just zoom out slightly. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So wanted to see if we could end up grabbing buying opportunities based on those locations, but we have adjusted the level slightly today. So overall, we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We realize we could potentially be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. So overall, our bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, even though we did get a pullback. Pullback do not necessarily get all the way to the main bias area. And we do see them attempting to come up. And we can see that same correlation coming in with all these yen pairs. Right now, nothing much for us to do. We want to end up seeing either the bridge to the upside or a pullback coming in. The way these buyers are coming in right here, if you compare them how they came up the first time, they do seem to be quite slower within this particular location. So wait to see what ends up happening. A breach to the upside and a hold above for looking for those buys, or don't be surprised if we actually end up getting that pullback coming in before we're able to look for some sort of buying opportunities within these locations. But take note of the market opening times. You could find, if you're here within a buyer's area, when you find the price there at 3 o'clock, you could find a nice buying opportunity, or at 4:30. So wait to see what ends up happening on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. But similar correlation, if this level doesn't hold, and the fact that overall we do seem to be in some major range, don't be surprised that the price actually comes down all the way to the main buyer's area. Then we do end up seeing that buying opportunity coming in there. So I hope that's clear. The Canadian dollar against the yen, at least what we'll be looking at doing there. So moving on to the next currency pair we do have, which is the British pound against the Japanese yen. You can see the British pound pairs really did work out quite well, for at least on most of the pairs, the British pound against Swiss franc, the British pound against the US dollar, and right now, even the British pound against the yen. So you can be able to use such correlation as well. So you can clearly see during the London session open, price was within this particular area right here, 10 o'clock, did end up giving us a pullback coming in, all the way to the support and resistance area that we did have. If you do note the timing, the price was there within 3 o'clock. At 4:30, that's when it started taking off to the upside, and it really continued taking off during the Asian session. So you'd have to have held this trade during the weekend, but it does seem to have worked out quite well. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We're clearly seeing the strength coming in on the British pound pairs. But you can see right now, this does not confirm that this level has been broken. You can clearly see last time the price even managed to get all the way to this location, and look how aggressive they came in, and still the price managed to come all the way down low. So don't chase when you do see aggressive buyers. We call these emotional candles because people get so excited about them. The emotions run wild. They end up making silly mistakes where they either enter a trade or even close a position maybe that's working. So don't necessarily be just focused on one candle, read the full story of the market. So right now, even though the price is going to the upside, let's see if we can end up getting this price pulling back and it holds above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. Remember, make sure to manage your trade within the high, or at least where the pullback does start. If you are able to get the price breaking and holding above that area, you should be good to go to continue with your buying opportunities. But for now, let's wait to see. Don't be surprised that something similar to yesterday, or at least on Friday, could end up happening again, where you could easily see the price coming down lower. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on the British pound against the Japanese yen. So moving on to the next yen pair we do have, which is the euro against the Japanese yen. Similar correlation on all the yen pairs, where we did end up getting a pullback coming in on Friday during the London session. We're hoping to see the price coming back within this main buyer's area. Did come in within a small SNR level, where there were at least at 3 o'clock during the US market open, the price just kept on holding there. But regardless, even if you did end up entering your trade on Friday, not much activity did end up happening. Only today, during the Asian session, we can see the price actually attempting to go to the upside. So the levels we had on Friday, similar correlation with all the other yen pairs, do seem to be wider, but the fact that this market could potentially be in some sort of range bouncing between these levels, we'll still be focusing on these two levels right here, major level right there at the top, We have the main buyer's area right here. We can clearly see this is definitely an area of interest due to the fact that the price has reacted from this area. The Asian big boys do seem to be interested in this. But remember, we wait to see either a breach to the upside, or you could find these markets actually ranging. So you either breach the upside and a hold above, continue looking for the buys, or the fact that we're in potentially this huge range. Don't be surprised if the price can even come all the way back down within this area, and we do still see those buying opportunities coming later. But obviously, the first area we'll be watching out to see will be this first support and resistance location. So I hope that's clear in terms of the game plan, the euro against the Japanese yen. Similar, a lot of correlation coming in with all these yen pairs. So now moving on, brand new entry on our watch list. Here we do have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. You can see this market has been channeling down quite slowly. Overall, we do want to end up seeing if we can end up grabbing those buying opportunities. But remember, this has something to do possibly with the Swiss franc pairs. We've ended up looking at the US dollar against the Swiss franc, and it does look a bit similar where it's looking as if it's breaking to the upside. Let's wait to see if the price is actually going to come back in and hold below for us to look for those selling opportunities. So something similar could be happening here as well on the Swiss franc against the yen. It's definitely the Swiss franc attempting to show a bit of Swiss franc going down, a bit of weakness actually. But since we're expecting some strength right now within a major buyer's area, we wait to see what ends up happening. We wait to see if we can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal right there. And the market ends up holding above that area, and it lines up within one of the market opening times, could find a nice buying opportunity here. However, if this price breaks and holds below this red support and resistance area, then ideally this pair will fall off our watch list. So this one will be very interested to see what ends up happening. We do manage to grab that buy, or we do end up seeing some sort of probe. Remember, most people jump in on trades late. So don't necessarily think that once you see the price all the way here, that this trade has now gone. That's the reason why we also encourage setting alerts, because you'll find that the alert coming in later, find that the price is actually broken to the area to the upside and is holding above, and you could find a nice trading opportunity there. So I hope that's clear on all the yen pairs. As you can clearly see, we'll mix and match the US dollar and the yen pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to have a look at the indices before we do have a look at gold and silver. So we'll start off here with the NAS 100. So on the NASDAQ, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. So we did have these three areas, or at least multiple areas, actually 4 areas we did have. Now, initially we wanted to see if we could end up grabbing those buying opportunities. At 10 o'clock, the price did end up showing us that it was holding above. Tempted to try and go up higher, could not break this area to the upside. It seems that it found some sort of small support resistance area. Did get a pullback at 3 o'clock, and at 4:30, the price seemed to be probing this particular area. So quite a bit messy. Tempted to attempt to go up higher. Unfortunately, could not. And right now, you can clearly see that same area does still seem to be giving us issues. However, today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We do have the main sellers right there at the top. We do have this major SNR area here where the price seems to be holding up actually from. We have the main buyers exactly down here. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, the buyers will still be to look for buying opportunities. But you can realize right now we're so close within this seller's area. So won't be surprised if we do end up actually getting a pullback. You can see we're in a sort of small range. So don't be surprised if we do end up getting something like this before we're able to look for buying opportunities. But even if you do manage to grab your buy there, watch out for this area. So this is definitely an area to manage. Even though you can end up targeting all the way to the top, you can clearly see this is an area that has given us issues. So if this level doesn't hold, you could end up finding the price still coming down all the way to the main buyer's area before we're able to look for buying opportunities. But for right now, you can clearly see this is still a seller's area, so we do not want to jump in on any buying opportunity just yet. So game plan is pretty much similar. We'll need a sort of pullback or even a breach to the upside for us to actually do anything on this trade or on this pair. So I hope that's clear. Not necessarily much to do right now, not necessarily much activity that did happen on Friday. So moving on to the next pair, we do have the Dow Jones. Now, on the Dow Jones overall, we do end up going up to the 1 hour time frame. You can be able to see we are within this particular range, bouncing between these two levels. However, you can clearly see the fact that this seller's area, first time, you can see how aggressive they pull to the downside. Every time the price would approach that area, you can see what sort of reaction. You can clearly see when the price got there, the reaction to come to the downside. Now, the fact that the price was not able to make a new low, and the fact that these buyers have come in quite aggressive, we want to see what these sellers can do. And you can clearly see the sellers, if you're looking at their reaction, previous reactions, right now, they don't seem to be reacting quite as aggressive as we'd have hoped for. Remember, did point out also here on the 15-minute, could potentially wait for a breach to the upside. If it did hold above, we'll be able to switch now our bias and start looking for buying opportunities. But we are fully aware that this buyer right here did end up pointing out this blue support and resistance area, could end up giving us issues because they're the ones who do seem to be pushing this buy, the price to the upside. Now, you can clearly see the price was not able to break this area to the upside, did hold below, did end up attempting to come down lower at 430. The price was within this buyer's area. The buyers did end up reacting quite a bit, and we still seem to be within this particular location. So overall, here we'll still be looking for selling opportunities on this due to the fact that we're still holding within this seller zone. So ideally, remember, these are concepts we do teach within the AMP as well as the masterclass class. So remember, if you do feel free, or at least if you want more education, feel free to use or at least sign up for that. There should be a link right there in the chat box. So overall, we'll still be looking for sales. However, due to the fact that the sellers are not necessarily showing that much aggression, don't be surprised, or at least you can also end up expecting if the price, you do see the buyers coming in aggressive and the pullback comes in and holds above, then you should be able to switch sides and actually start looking for buys. But the fact that we're holding within this area, we should still be looking for sales, especially if we do see aggressive sellers coming in and the price gives us a pullback and holds below, we should be able to look for selling opportunities. Even though we can end up targeting all the way down here, you need to make sure you manage your trade within this first problem area. This is definitely an area where buyers have reacted from multiple times. If you know, they could end up still reacting within that location. But if the price is able to break that area to the downside, then you should be able to come and target all the way till this main buy area at the bottom. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the US 30. So moving on to silver. Now on silver, on Friday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. But remember, we did also point out that this price, or at least since the fact that the market came to the downside, did end up getting some sort of pullback. So if I do some quick illustration, you can see the price managed to come down lower, did have a support and resistance area where the price did end up giving us a pullback and attempting to come down lower. You can see multiple times that the price has attempted to come down lower. But the fact that we couldn't go lower, which meant that this price right here was not good enough and we needed a better price. So the fact that the price ended up giving us a pullback, wanted to see, can clearly see we have gotten higher, at least gotten a higher price. Now I want to see whether or not the big boy sellers are actually going to come in. Because already, right now, we've seen the way the buyers came in, looked as if they came in quite aggressive, but you can clearly see, we did also point out there was a buyer's area here that we should watch out for. And remember, even based on this illustration, wanted to see if we can end up getting this price breaking and holding below that area, then I think we should be able to look for selling opportunities. But you can clearly see the price came down, kept on holding, hardly ended up reaching that area at 430. It attempted to try and come down lower, but you can clearly see it was approved. And that's the reason why we always encourage, wait for the price to actually hold to get confirmation a level has actually been broken. So in this situation, there was no trading opportunity for us. You can see right now, we did end up attempting to do that on Friday. Today morning. Unfortunately, could not. And you can see the price is attempting to come up higher. But remember, the main thing we want to see is aggressive sellers coming in. So overall, our bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see the main seller who did push us down lower. This is just a potential pullback for us to end up seeing this market coming down lower for us. So overall, we pretty much focus on the same areas that we were looking at on Friday. So aggressive sellers right here at the top. So as long as we're holding below that made area, our bias is still to look for selling opportunities. Can see an area of interest right here. We do seem to be attempting to break this area to the upside. But remember, this could end up easily being some sort of probe. By either during the the London session, you could find the market attempting to come up. Then you could easily find the price coming back in and holding below. If you do see something like that, then we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities. But for right now, we know the way these buyers are coming in, they do seem to be struggling quite a bit. But the main thing we want to see is the aggressive sellers. Where are these sellers right here who managed to push this price down lower? You should be able to see signs of them coming back in again. So overall, that will be the game plan. Right now, the pullback is still coming in. So we'll wait to see how far the price will end up being able to go to before we're able to look for those selling opportunities on silver. So last but not least, we move on to the fan favorite, which is gold. The story is pretty much similar. So we need to go to the 1 hour time frame. So you can clearly see overall on Friday, or at least we're meant to look for selling opportunities as the price did manage to come down. We did get a pullback where the price managed to come down lower, but it was a similar situation. This price right here was not good enough and we needed a better price. So right now, the fact that the price has managed to go up higher, no aggressive sellers yet, and we do seem to be approaching this main seller's area right there. So overall, our bias is still going to be looking for selling opportunities as long as we're holding below this particular seller's area right here. So remember, if we are able to get the price breaching and holding above the red support in this area, our bias will switch and we'll start looking for buying opportunities. But for now, since we're holding below, here we're still going to be looking for selling opportunities. You compare how the buyers have come in comparison to the sellers. You can't see how long it's taken, around 3 days just going to the upside. It's just been taking 1 day or even just one session to come to the downside. So you can clearly see the buyers are not necessarily as strong. This is just the buyer coming in, but we've not necessarily seen the aggressive seller coming in just yet. So wait to see. If we can end up getting this price approaching this particular seller's area, we do see aggressive sellers coming in. The price ends up holding below. Should be able to look for selling opportunities. Watch out for this problem area right here, because I know also on Friday, we did have this level of interest because you did point out that this was a particular high. Wanted to see if the price is able to come break and hold below this area, we should be able to look for sell. But you can clearly see the price managed to break that area to the upside and was actually holding above. And you can clearly see that's where the price is bouncing off today. So overall, even if you're looking for your selling opportunity there, and you could end up even targeting all the way down here, make sure you manage your trade within this fast problem area. You never know whether or not these buyers can come in again. But if the price is able to break and hold below that area, you should be able to come and target these next problem areas on gold. But for now, let's wait to see as this pullback is coming in. Remember, this pair is mainly active during the US session, but that doesn't mean we might not see activity during the London session. So just keep an eye out at 10 o'clock and 10:30, see what kind of reaction we do get. If we don't necessarily see any reaction, then you can be able to wait for the US market, or at least the US session, to see whether or not you could end up getting some trading opportunities there. So I hope that's clear for all the currency pairs, including gold, silver, as well as the indices. So I can be able to address some questions in the Q&A section if there are any. So I'm seeing Alan Drono, he's saying, hi Mitch, thanks a lot. Karibu sana Alan, glad to see you here as well. And for the vote of thanks. So hope that these sessions are providing value for you. So I'm guessing that is pretty much it. I'm guessing everything was clear. Remember today, market might not necessarily be very active. It is a holiday during the Asian session, but we still found the market going. Don't necessarily have much fundamentals coming out during the London session, a bit during the US session. So maybe the London session might be a bit slower than the US session. We might find some activity, but don't necessarily expect too much from the markets today like the way it was last Monday. Last Monday was not necessarily normal. Usually Mondays are a bit slower, and the market start picking up on Tuesday and Wednesday. So hope that is clear. And I guess that is it for me. So I want to thank you guys so much, and I'm not seeing any more questions. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have found value in this session. Remember, if you have any more, at least if you find any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them into us. Our contact details are in the chat box. Remember, if you do want to end up joining us for the AMP, next week is the first day. We'll be looking at least the first class for the August session. So the class is filling up quite a lot. So remember, if you are interested, feel free to join us on this. You can end up signing up here. Remember, you do need to have done the masterclass in order for you to join us on this. But remember, during these sessions, we'll be sitting with you every single day for the whole month, Monday to Friday, looking for trading opportunities during the London session. So we'll find some nice trading opportunities. We'll end up having the previous class actually letting you guys know how it was. I know majority of them actually ended up making their money back even before the sessions were over. So hope that ends up working. So I'm seeing one last request from Metrin. So hi Metrin, you're asking for the NASDAQ, or is it the Dow Jones? Yes, so the Dow Jones, remember here we're still looking for selling opportunities because overall on the 1 hour time frame we're ranging. So the fact that we're within this seller's area, our bias is still to look for sales. But if the price breaks and holds above, here we'll be looking for buying opportunities. So hope that's clear, as well as the NASDAQ, similar situation here. We're within an area where the sellers, we just need a pullback to come in for us to be able to look for those buying opportunities. But Metrin, if you do want to be able to end up looking at this as well, you can be able to find us on YouTube. I think even right now we are streaming live. So you can be able to find us there. The recording will be there. So guys, if you do miss any pair, you can always go back to it and reference it. And if you do make sure, at least don't forget to subscribe. At least drop a like. At least that ends up helping out the channel as well. So I guess that's it from me. Hope that's also clear for you, Matrine. So I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, we are preparing for the London session. So let's hope that works out quite well. So thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day. God bless. Cheers, guys, and bye for now.